When I tested the Geely EX5 in China, drove it around a racetrack, I drove it as hard as I could. I waited, so when I was looking, I thought they weren't anyway, and I tried to drive this thing as hard as I could. Now, this is tuned for comfort, right? This vehicle, it's certainly not intended for people like me who are aggressive around corners and when no one's watching and it's nighttime, I like to drive a bit faster. This is more of a comfort vehicle, and it's very practical. It's actually quite nice on the interior, and it's got a very, very impressive battery pack. In fact, the battery, I believe, is definitely better on multiple levels than BYD's Blade battery. It has higher energy density, in fact, significantly higher, and it's also extremely, extremely safe. I've had several requests from you guys to make this video, so here it is. I have driven this car. I drove this around a racetrack in China. I do have some fairly, I am opinionated, guys, as you know, and I have some fairly strong opinions on this vehicle. We've got a pretty good indication of the price here in Australia. And, well, I do have something to say about that. And this could get me into a bit of trouble. I'm serious, it might. But you know what, I've decided, I've always been honest. I've always told you the truth about what I thought about different cars, prices, and I'm not going to change that, even if it does have an effect on me. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. Great to have you with us. Now, if you can join the channel by becoming a member, that'd be great, because then I can continue to tell the truth. And no, I'll keep telling the truth even if I can't afford to. The Geely EX5, don't get me wrong, it's a good car. It's a nice car. It's 4.6 meters long. It's a very practical kind of shape. It's a bit bigger than a BYD 803. So it's about, 5% bigger. It's got a much bigger boot though than a BYD 803, about 25% bigger than the 803's boot. And the indicative price in Australia is $49,000 for the standard range or the standard version of this vehicle. And the more luxurious version looks like it's going to be around $55,000. Now that's what the Geely themselves have said within the last day or two. So what do we know about this car? First of all, I'll tell you, we'll look at that, and then I'll tell you what I think and whether I think that price makes sense, whether you should order. I've had a lot of you contact me to say, I'm considering ordering, or saying, should I order this? Or, I'll tell you what I think about it. Now, you can place a pre-order now, even though we don't know the exact price. Now, here's what a Geely Australia spokesperson said, aiming for the $49,000 to $55,000 mark. So I believe they're saying the base version is going to be about $49,000. The more premium version will be around $55,000. Now, make no mistake, this is a very nice car, but it's not a premium car. I hope Geely doesn't take offense to that. They did pay for me to fly business class to China and test drive it. And I'm one of the few journalists that's going to tell you the truth, even though it might hurt me, like I said. Now, it's a nice car, but it's certainly not, technologically advanced. Now, when I say technologically advanced, it does have a good battery. The battery is about 192 watt-hours per kilogram in terms of energy density. Very good lithium iron phosphate battery. I believe it's a short blade battery from Geely. Not the golden brick battery that's in the Zeekr 7X, but it's the short blade battery. That's a lithium iron phosphate battery. It should be, I've heard from Geely that battery can charge it up to 600 kilowatt, but in this vehicle, it charges at 100 kilowatt, which in my opinion, it's not enough. It's not fast enough charging for a car in that price range. I personally would not spend $50,000 to $55,000, Australian dollars that is, on a car with 100 kilowatt charging. It just isn't something that I personally would do. Now, does that mean you shouldn't? Absolutely not. If that's not a big factor for you, if you rarely DC charge and that doesn't matter for you, if you don't mind, that's not an issue. And I'm not saying don't buy it. But if you think about it, this car is 4.6 meters long. It has 420 kilometers of range, right? That's approximate range, depending on your wheel sizes. You'll have more or less, I believe, depending on the wheel option sizes. But anyway, it's around about 420 kilometers of range, WLTP. I think that price is a little high for that range and charging speed. Now, how big is it actually? Well, it's 4,615 millimeters long, 4,615, and 1,901 millimeters wide. It's got a wheelbase of 2,750 millimeters. In other words, it's basically an identical size to a Toyota RAV4, but it's wider and has a longer wheelbase. So it might even have more interior space than a Toyota RAV4, even though it's not quite as much of a boxy shape. I think that the shape is nice looking. Now, I was wrong on the range. It's 430 kilometers for the base model, which has 18-inch wheels. Now, the more expensive model has 19s, and that gets a range decrease of 20 kilometers. So as I've said many times, put bigger wheels on a car, it gets less range. And yeah, I mean, if you're going to get the more premium version of this car, it could be worth saying to Geely, guys, can I please get the 18-inch wheels on that model, because I want the extra range. I want the 430 kilometers of range. Anyhow, combined energy consumption is, well, guys, when I first did my first video, Geely said the energy consumption was 12 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which was below everyone. And I was saying, it doesn't make sense. You're saying the WLTP range is 430 kilometers and the battery pack is a 60 kilowatt hour battery, more than 430 kilometers of range, if that's the efficiency it gets. Now, Geely clarified that, which is good. They've said it's 15.8 up to 16.6. So I'm guessing 16.6 kilowatt hours would be for the bigger wheels, and you put the smaller wheels on, and you're going to get better efficiency at 15.8. Now, Geely also quote AC charging capacity of 11 kilowatt, and DC charging is 100. So AC charging is fine. 11 kilowatt AC charging, I don't think many people would want faster than that, because you want to use your solar at home. And not many people are going to be producing more than 11 kilowatts of solar for many hours a day. Now, the EX5 has vehicle to load and V2V, which is vehicle to vehicle. Basically the same thing, to be honest. Output, though, is different. So this is quite interesting. This is a bit unusual here. Output is 3.3 kilowatt for vehicle to load, and vehicle to vehicle, it's 6 kilowatt. Now, you may be able to charge devices in your house using that 6 kilowatt vehicle to vehicle setting. There might be a way to kind of hijack that, so that's worth considering. Battery size, as I mentioned before, it's a 60 kilowatt hour battery, and it's a lithium iron phosphate battery, but it is a better battery than the Blade battery. When I say it's a better Blade battery, it's just more advanced. It has a higher energy density. In fact, the energy density is probably about 15% higher than the BYD Blade battery, which is the reason why this is a bigger vehicle than an Atto 3, but it's getting around about the same range from a similar size battery pack. Now, this battery is extremely safe. It has thermal runaway protection, which is similar to the BYD Blade battery, possibly even a bit better, I'd say, from looking at all the data from them, the spec sheets. It looks like it might be one of, if not the safest batteries in the world. So massive. As you guys know, I'm a huge fan of the Geely's batteries. The Golden Brick battery, phenomenal battery. This battery, the Short Blade Aegis battery, this is also an incredible battery. And this is one of the key things you're getting with this car, a really good battery. But remember, it does have some pretty tough rivals. The Tesla Model Y. I mean, it's the current model. It's what, $56,000, so $1,000 more than the premium version of this car. And it's bigger. It's a bigger car. You know, it's around 5% bigger than this. It's definitely got a bigger boot, probably about a 20%, 25% bigger boot space. So, Xpeng G6. You can get the Xpeng G6 for $55,000 as well with similar range, but it's a significantly bigger car than this as well. The Xpeng G6 is an identical size to the Tesla Model Y. And that's the reason why I think the pricing needs to be a little lower than that. At $55,000, that's your competition, the Xpeng G6 and the Tesla Model Y. And this car is a bit smaller than those vehicles and has significantly slower charging speed. Don't get me wrong, I think this car's going to be great, but I'm just putting it out there. I think Geely, if you price this a little bit lower, it'll do really well. You know, the premium model at $50,000 and the lower spec model at $45,000. Now, keep in mind, in China, these are literally half the price of the Tesla Model Y. The cheapest version is half the price of the Model Y. So I do think there is capacity for Geely to price these lower. So it really depends on, how they're going to approach the Australian market. Now, in China, this car has been a huge success. It's sold they've sold so many of these. I mean, they're selling like, I think 10 or 20,000 a month, ridiculous numbers, just huge demand for this vehicle in a car market, which, has so many options. They're selling a lot of this vehicle. So people definitely think highly of it and it's selling really well. But one of those reasons is definitely price. Price is a strong factor in people's consideration. So guys, based on that information, my experience with this vehicle is it's not overly dynamic. It's definitely tuned for comfort. So if you want a more dynamic car, the G6 has suspension's a bit stiffer, but it's also more dynamic around corners. This is more of a comfort car. That's the way it was tuned in China. They may have changed it for the Australian market, I don't know. But that's more the target I think they're going after. Now, it does have a nice media screen. It's a 15.4-inch HD, so high definition touchscreen infotainment system. It's got a 10.2-inch LCD instrument cluster display. And you can also opt for a panoramic sunroof in the premium version, I believe, and a 13.4-inch heads-up display. Not many electric cars have heads-up displays. I love heads-up displays, so that's a really cool feature. In addition, it gets a 16-speaker premium audio system, ventilated front seats, and a lounge chair for the front passenger, which can be reclined with a leg rest, much like the premium relaxation seats in high-end vehicles from Xpeng. So, guys, I like this car. I'm a fan, but I'm hoping these prices are a little lower, or at least this might be the, maybe they'll start from here and then go a little lower. I'm not sure. What are your thoughts? Let me know what you think in the comments.